Welcome to Smoke Signals, everyone. I'm Matt Montgomery, along with head football coach and athletic director Wayne Coleman. Coach, opening night at Tomato Bowl wasn't a good night, and you said coming into the ball game that this was going to be a team that was going to be difficult to defend, not just because of their physicality up front, but just you don't see the wing tee ever, and you won't see it again. And so tough week of practice trying to prepare for that.
Yeah, no doubt. The combination of the wing tee scheme and their huge offensive line, that was not good for us.
What could you have done? I mean, you had an offensive line that was averaged like 270 or something like that, and defensively, did you learn anything from that? I know that you're not going to play the wing tee anymore, but what did you learn about your defensive scheme?
Sometimes whenever you're playing a really rare scheme like the wing tee, you try to change things up on your defense to make it match better. Hindsight, tells us we probably just should have stayed in our base defense. We were in a situation where we had to move outside backers to inside backers to try to get enough guys inside the box. That didn't work out well for us.
Offensively, another great night offensively as far as getting total yards, moving the football. You kept the turnovers down low again. Just if you could just get some things like more people involved in the game, like you did against Crandall, that could be a positive. But Devin had a record-breaking night, which we'll talk more about in a minute. But it just seemed like a few times, if it wasn't for Ryan McCowan's feet, who got you out of some situations, though, that really helped you a lot.
We got to stay true to our goal of running the football, and once we got down so much early in the game, we kind of abandoned that a little bit, and we actually started playing better later in the game when we went back to it and started grinding the ball. We actually played better football then.
So this offense that you have, it's a run first, set up the pass, not pass and set up the run?
Yeah, that's what you want to be. That way it makes the passing game easier, and we've got kids that can make big plays out there. And we've got good running backs. JT stepped in the other night and did a great job when he went in the game. So we now feel like we've got two really good running backs. Defensively,
going back to that, Coach, again, you won't see that offense again like that. But what did you learn about some of your players that they had to stick it out? I mean, they were just coming right at them.
Yeah, there were some kids that made plays the other night, and I know it was in a losing effort, but still, there's guys out there just battling. I've never seen Rolando Munoz play that well. He battled every play. Xavier Kendrick I think he led the team with tackles, with 10 or 11 tackles from a safety position. He did a great job. And there were guys, even on the offensive side, Ryan Walker stepped up and made plays. DeVarian Boyd had a good game blocking at tight end. So even in a losing effort, there are other kids, younger kids, guys that you haven't seen step up and make plays. They're doing their job.
And, I mentioned turnovers a minute ago. Cash got a pick, Dylan got a pick. It's good to see your secondary making plays like that.
Yeah, it was big for them, and really that's the only time we stopped them, or they stopped themselves, but our kids did step up and make those plays.
Well, Jacksonville and Palestine had a crazy one the other night. Let's take a look at some of the highlights. Here's Ryan here buying some time and dropping a nice dime here for 25 yards to Devin.
Yeah, he does a great job here buying time with his feet and finding Devin.
You just mentioned Cash Bearden, and here's Palestine throwing the pick, and Cash gets it in the end zone.
Yeah, they tried to throw a throwback, and Cash was waiting on that one. He's hard to throw the ball over the top of.
And here again is Ryan buying some time with his feet and finding Devin down the field. And again, I can't say enough about his footwork, just getting himself out of situations.
That's a very difficult play, moving to your left and making that throw.
And you mentioned the sophomore, Ryan Walker, working at H-back here, catching the touchdown from Ryan.
Yeah, great job of both the Ryans there, extending the play.
This was a great route by Devin McEwen, kind of an out and up, if you want to call it that, and Ryan finds him in the end zone from 22.
Yeah, those guys have got a good connection going on right now.
Another deep pass to Devin for 40 yards from Ryan.
And Palestine was bringing a lot of pressure off the edges, and the O-line did a good job of keeping him safe in the middle. He just had to avoid and step up and make plays.
Well, you mentioned that Ryan and Devin, they've been doing that since, what, 8th grade? They've been throwing, 7th grade, they've been throwing to each other like that, and missed a year last year when Devin was on the varsity. But a record-breaking night for Devin McEwen. 14 catches, 259 yards in the score. Coach, that was just a huge night by Devin. You already knew that he could do that, but just a great effort by him after being slowed down in practice all week.
Yeah, and that's definitely not plan A. You can see there was a lot of improvising going on there on scrambles, and that's because of the pressure that Palestine would bring and make us move out of the pocket. And but there were some guys that like Ryan Walker that stepped up and made plays. Some other guys dropped a couple balls. So we've all got to keep grinding and chipping in. The goal is to be more like the Crandall game where we've got 8 different guys catching the ball. That's where we want to be as an offense.
We talk about, the last thing on Palestine is talk about their offense. I mean, how prolific their offense is running that wing tee just like that. They had pretty good defense, too.
They're really athletic, played man coverage most of the night, and it was hard to get separation from those guys. Even every play you look there, just about every completion is contested.
Their corners were excellent, and the linebackers, you said, put a lot of pressure on your offensive line coming in and blitzing a few times.
Yeah, and that makes it difficult, and then you have to do that. I mean, to put a corner on an island and ask him to play man on our receivers, you've got to be putting pressure on the quarterback, and it worked out well for him. A couple years ago, Chris Carpenter had a big, record-breaking night against them, and they played the same defense, and they didn't get away with it that night, but they got away with it last Friday night.
So it's the final tune-up for non-district as Jacksonville will be heading to Henderson next week for the Highway East rivalry as the Fighting Indians coach looking for their first win. Henderson 1-1 coming into the ball game. A new coach, new scheme, new quarterback, the coach's son, about 6'4". I've watched a little bit of him. He can sling it. Talk about Henderson, what they do well.
They spread the ball out and get the ball to their athletes. They look a lot like us as far as running a 4-3 defense and running the spread offense. They'll jump in and out of 1 and 2 backs. Very similar. We'll be more comfortable on the field with them than we were against the wing tee.
Of course, they scored 48 in their first game in the win over Hallsville by 1. And then last week they played number 2, state-ranked Gilmer. So they still scored on Gilmer. The Buckeyes, I think 21 points, I believe they got.
Yeah, it was more like 50 to 14.
It was 12 to 14. Yeah, it was a couple of scores. Yeah. But this is a Henderson team that, do they throw first, run second offensively, or do they run first, throw second?
I would say they're kind of like us. They want to establish the run, but they're more than willing to spread it out and throw the football.
So what are you going to do to try to attack that 4-3?
We're going to keep doing what we do, spread it out, and try to get the ball to multiple guys. And got to run the football. And if we can do that, that's going to make throwing the ball easier.
So it's the third game, and then you get the bye week, and then Hallsville comes in to start district play. What have you learned in the first 2 games? Let's start with your offense. You've talked about sticking with what you do. Is there anything that will change, though? Anything about the Palestine game or the Crandall game that changes maybe what you thought going into the season that you want to do?
I think we found out that Boyd can go in and play tight end and give us a 3-man surface to run behind when we need it, depending on what the defense is doing. We found out that obviously Ryan can extend plays, so we don't have to be exact on our play calling or on our play design, because we know that after the first or second read are not there, he can still make a play for us. And we really did run the ball well in the first game, and we ran the ball well in the second half the other night. So we're happy with that part of it.
I asked you defensively, what have you learned? But I already know one thing. I'll just go ahead and answer it for you. But we learned that you do have a couple of cornerbacks now that can play.
We do. We're thin, but we've got kids that can make plays. Our secondary's played pretty well. Our defensive line, barring the Palestine game, played pretty well in the first game. And I talked to the kids about this. Where we're at right now is our special teams have gotten better. Our offense is still a little inconsistent, and our defense hasn't had a chance to show what they can do yet, because in the first game, our special teams kept putting them on the field on their own 30-yard line. And in the second game, they had to line up against a wing tee. They're finally going to get a chance, I think, to line up against a spread team that they'll be more comfortable against, albeit a quarterback that can really scramble and make plays. But we should be able to go on the field and not be in such horrible field position like we were the first game. I think this is going to be our defense's first chance to really show what they can do.
And again, not to keep going back to the Palestine game, but one thing that I think the players could learn is the angles. The wing tee, when they're coming out of a wing tee on the angle, is totally different than playing against a spread offense.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's run inside out, and we didn't do. We had so many missed assignments a lot by alignment in the Palestine game because we weren't used to lining up against unbalanced sets and three-man surfaces with a wing, and it was just difficult for our kids.
But from here on out, though, I mean, like you said, with Henderson, now it starts to look that the kids are used to the offenses that everybody else plays against. Now you've got that Friday night coming up.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a much better situation for us defensively. We're going to get Henderson. It's going to be 10 and 20 personnel. We're going to get Hallsville after that. It's going to be 10 and 20 personnel. Everybody in the district is going to look the same. You get to the Mount Pleasant game where they do a lot of tight end, unbalanced stuff. We'll have to readjust a little bit back then.
Keys to the game to get the win against Henderson?
It's always going to be about turnovers and taking care of the football and field position. Let's put our kids in a better position when they go out on the field defensively.
So, Coach, what's the mentality? What's the feel, the mood of the team? Y'all had practice yesterday and today, and after a loss like that, and now you're going on the road again. What's the mentality? How's the team feeling right now?
Kids really let their emotions get the best of them sometimes, and starting out 0-2 can get you down. I posted the district standings on the wall form, which the district standings, by the way, are everybody 0-0.
Correct.
But even if you look at their non-district records, you've got Texas High at 2-0, you've got Pine Tree at 1-1, and you have everybody else at 0-2. So why you would be down on yourself right now doesn't make any sense. Right. You're just as good as anybody else in that district. Texas High is the only undefeated team.
You can go back and look at history, and Jacksonville, the one that pops in my mind is the 03 team. They started 0-5, and then they went 5-5 one district. So, I mean, those are things that not necessarily are anomalies that can be done.
Yeah, it's not like we've played anywhere close to our best football. Mm-hmm. You need to get really worried when you've played your best game and you still can't come out with a W. And we're not even close to being where we can be.
Well, it's Jacksonville versus Henderson on the road for the Highway 79 East rivalry. Will be online at 6:45 on JHS-sports.com. For head coach Wayne Coleman, I'm Matt Montgomery. We'll see you next time right here on Smoke Signals.